Is it going?
No, I take the lead.
Is it going? Is it going?
Yep. Now you go.
Okay. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this union a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether if one nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. I don't know the rest. Okay, so the Civil War began when many southern states, starting with South Carolina, seceded from the Union because of the issue of slavery. Many of these reasons, well, one of these reasons why these states seceded was because of the Missouri Compromise, which said that no slave states can go above the line above Texas. Oh God, it's wet. And that for every slave state, there had to be at least one free state. Now, the Southerners did not exactly like this, so they got mad.
All right.
Another reason is the Kansas-Nebraska Act passed in 1851, saying that Kansas and Nebraska had popular sovereignty to the regard of slavery, and they got to choose if they were a slave state or not. And now the northern states got mad at this because they were above the line passed in the Missouri Compromise. So whoop-de-doo. And then they went to war. And the President Lincoln sought to make the war about slavery so that European countries would not side with the South, because so that they would think that they were fighting for a non-noble cause. And now you see the northern states then, like, they tried to pass the Emancipation Proclamation. Well, Lincoln did, and that said that in all the southern states, slaves would be free. And you see, in order to pass this, Lincoln thought that he had to win a great victory so that people would take him seriously, and so that the North could be considered an actual global power. And now, so he had to win a big battle. And then, oh God, what's it called? I think it's Vicksburg came along, and
keep going.
And then they won. So there was this big battle so he could pass the Emancipation Proclamation. And now after this was passed, the European powers
during the Civil War lecture.
The European powers did not side with the South because the war was now about slavery. So now,
you want to take the lead?
Now,
Okay.
the Northerners came up with the Anaconda Plan, which had 4 steps. And this was to blockade the South Ocean routes so that no supplies could come in or out. And then take over all of the cities along the Mississippi River, and then capture Vicksburg and make a path through Georgia via Sherman's March out to out to the ocean, and then they would slowly constrict like an anaconda the South until they had no more supplies and were forced to lose. And now they blockaded the South and took control of most of the cities over the Mississippi, except for Vicksburg, which was a challenge, as Vicksburg was a very big city and had lots of supplies, so they had to lay a siege. And that siege landed I mean, lasted for a long time. And it was one of the last battles of the war because it lasted for so long. Now after the siege, the General Sherman guy began his march to the sea, and in which he burned many Georgian towns such as Atlanta. And this made the South really mad. And so then they weren't willing to give up just yet. But then after Gettysburg, the South had to go on to defense because they lost so many troops and supplies. And now, after Gettysburg, they are no longer able to invade the North as they had lost so many troops and supplies. So you see, now all Lincoln had to do was send his new general, Ulysses S. Grant, who was much better and ferocious than George McClellan, against the South to defeat the last few cities in the deep southern parts of Alabama and Georgia. And you see, now, after the war was over and Lincoln took control of all these states, he had to, what's the word? He began the Reconstruction, which was helping the South return to its pre-war state, minus the slavery. And so he had to, he had to send them many supplies, and thus began the Reconstruction.